New data shows student voter turnout increased during the 2020 election. According to the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement, more than 75% of eligible University of Texas students voted last year. Zoe Nanson, president of Texas Votes, joins us this morning to talk about the effort of getting Texas students to the polls. Morning, Zoe. Thanks for being with us.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
First of all, just talk a little bit about the organization and the work that you did in 2020 and going forward.
Yeah, so I am president of Texas Votes. We're a completely nonpartisan, non-advocacy civic engagement org at UT. We don't tell people how to vote, who to vote for, just that they should vote. Do a lot of voter registration efforts here on campus. And a lot of why we think our outreach has been so effective is that it's by students for students. So it involves going into classrooms, talking directly to students and getting them out to vote.
And obviously, you saw the fruit of that in 2020. That paid off with some really impressive numbers that we don't normally see in a college student population in an election.
Yeah, very, very exciting. So we've seen almost a 20% increase just since 2016, which is super exciting. Thank you to Tufts, the Institute for Democracy and Higher Education, for all this information. It's very good to know. We saw increases in every single area of study at UT, increased voter turnout rates, a 90% voter registration rate. So all very, very exciting stuff.
And we know 2020 was such a historic year, such a different year on multiple fronts. So we saw more voting engagement in so many areas. So while impressive, I mean, you kind of see that in a presidential election. Now we're coming up today on the very off-year elections. Some things have kind of changed, maybe died down a little bit. This is a type of election you just don't see the numbers that you would see in a presidential year. What's your forecast for students getting out to vote this year, and what kind of work have you done ahead of Election Day?
Yeah, so we've continued our outreach as usual for this election, still going into classrooms, gone into dozens of classrooms, talked to hundreds of students. It's been nice being back on campus this year, so we've done a little more in-person outreach as opposed to this past year, which was mostly online, but we've still been getting out to table, encouraging as many students to vote as possible. And while, turnout usually isn't quite as high during these elections, we're still nonetheless encouraging everyone to go out and vote.
And it is so important. And of course, an issue on a college campus, I guess, when you're talking about younger people voting, so many of them, they're essentially not home. And so you want to vote in their local elections and make sure they take care of that. And especially in an off election year, when you're seeing so many local races or local issues that might be important to individual students where they might be, that does require more planning. I guess maybe early voting obviously is such a big deal.
It does, yes. We've been talking to a lot of students about, for those who are registered at home, how to vote by mail. Encouraging students to consider voting here on campus just to make it a little bit more convenient for them. We've got a polling location here on campus that students can use, but have definitely been encouraging students to be proactive and plan out how they're going to vote ahead of time.
Okay, well, we appreciate you joining us early. What's Election Day look like for you today?
Today, I woke up bright and early and was tabling outside the FAC, our polling location, and I'm going to go head there right after this. So lots of tabling, encouraging students to go vote, and celebrating Election Day. Maybe
a cup of coffee too, early in the morning, hopefully.
Definitely.
Zoe Nanson, president of Texas Votes. Zoe, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, we'll be right back.